Hi y'all, bonjour, hola, my name is Trish. If you're new on this channel, welcome and happy Mother's Day in advance to all the mothers and potential mothers. So in today's Photoshop tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create this simple Happy Mother's Day flyer design. Are you ready? Well, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is to set our document size. So you want to go to File and click on New, and then you want to choose the 1920 by 1080, and we want to change the resolution from 72 to 300, and you want to go ahead and click OK. So we're going to go to our folder, and I'm going to drag in the file that we're going to work with. So I'm going to pull in this image. Now the beauty about this Happy Mother's Day flyer is that you can create your own custom by using your mother's photo or your photo if you're a female and you want to create one specially for yourself. If you look below in the description, you will see a link to download the file so you can follow along. So I'm going to rescale. Now, if you can't see your transform activated, just press Command T or Control T if you are on Windows to activate it. Now, once we have the scale that we want to go ahead and take off the background of our subject. So the easiest way is to use your quick action. So go under your object selection and choose quick selection tool. Now you want to click on select subject, and Photoshop will basically cut out your subject for you and we can get rid of the background. So I'm going to come under my layer style and I'm going to click on add layer mask. I need to make a copy of my image, so I'm going to hold down options. I'm going to hold down command, click on my thumbnail. So with our selection made, you want to make sure you click on the thumbnail of your image, Command C to make a copy, add a new layer by clicking on the plus icon, Command V to paste it. So with this set, I'm going to turn off the bottom image, so we don't need that anymore. So I can go ahead and basically delete that. Now we have this image without the background. So the next thing is to convert our image into a stencil to achieve the effect that we want. So you want to click on your image, go to image adjustment and choose threshold. Now you notice that it basically turns your image into black and white. Now, if you want to play with the different settings, you can do that, but this is good enough. So I'm going to go ahead to click OK. Now, we want to blend in our bottom portion so it's not so sharp. So you want to go ahead, click on your subject, and we are going to add my layer mask. You want to click on the thumbnail of your layer mask, pick up your gradient tool, which is under paint. So select that. You know that black hides, white reveals. So I'm going to flip my foreground so I have a black. Now you want to make sure that you have the gradient, which is from a solid to a transparent. Now, if you don't have that, that is basically foreground to transparent. So you need to go under basic, and the middle one is what will give you the foreground to transparent. Now we can click OK. Draw a straight line from top to bottom. Just extend it so that you can do it in one sweep, just like that. I want to show you something. If you change your mind and you don't want the gradient effect anymore, you can right click on the thumbnail of your layer mask and basically say disable, and you have your image back. So I'm going to go ahead to click on apply. I'm going to click on enable layer mask. So we have it on our subject. The next thing we are going to do is to add a watercolor effect onto our image. So you're going to add a new layer, and I'm going to pick up my brush tool. So I'm going to click on my brush and I want a very soft brush. So I'm gonna go and choose a Carl Webster water brush, and I'm going to increase my brush head. So you can use your left or right bracket to increase your brush head or decrease it. Now, right now the flow is at 100. So when I do this, you realize that the brush stroke is too thick, and that's not what we want. So Command Z to go back. So I'm going to go up and change the flow. I'm going to take that back, and even the opacity. So notice that I'm on the new layer I created. I'm going to increase my brush head, and I'm just going to do some splash here and there. So we have almost like a watercolor effect on our subject. And I'm going to flip my foreground. So I have this cyan, and I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to go ahead and paint this in like that. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but at least you have something to work with. And even with the purple, I'm going to do the same thing. We are going to pick up our shape tool. Typically you see a rectangle tool, but when you click on the drop down, it allows you to see other options. But for this purpose, we are just going to use the rectangle tool, and we want to draw a rectangle shape. So I'm going to just quickly box in something like this. And we want to go under our property, and I'm going to go ahead and reduce this a little. So we're going to go under our property, and we want to leave the fill empty. With our stroke though, we want to pick up on the pinkish color, and I'm going to increase my stroke. You can also go ahead and increase your size a little if you want it a little bit more bigger. Now with this set, we want to click on our shape. If you want to center it, you can manually shift it, or you can use your alignment tool up here. So we're going to click on the horizontal center and the vertical center, so you have it right in the middle. Now we don't want this shape to be in the middle, we want it to be off center, so we have something like this. And I'm going to go ahead and even decrease, so we have it even on all three sides, but the top is smaller, is bigger. So with this set, we want to go ahead and move our shape layer to put it below our subject layer, so the shape is behind our subject. We're going to double click on our shape in the layer style so we can add a drop shadow. So click on the drop shadow, and you want to click inside your drop shadow, and we can play with the angle to get it to the desired effect that we want. Now I can even go ahead and increase my spread or my size. It depends on what shadow effect that you want. And I'm going to go ahead to click OK. So it's looking good so far. So the next thing that I'm going to do is that I want to add a background. So we are going to click on our rectangle, and I'm going to go ahead to click on my adjustment and add a solid color. But before I do that, I want to flip my foreground color to the cyan. And now I can go back to my adjustments and then choose a solid color. So this is the color effects that we have. Now I want it more on the muted side. So I'm going to just do something like this and click OK. Now you want to take the shape and put it beneath your rectangle shape. So you can pull your rectangle above, so that is on top. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to double click on my shape, and I'm going to just choose a very light color. I'm going to click on the layer mask thumbnail for my fill color because I want to take out the color inside the rectangle. So pick your rectangular marquee tool, and you can just draw a rectangle. It doesn't have to be perfect. So just like this, and we are going to take our eraser tool, and with our foreground as black, we know black hides, white reveals. So I'm going to click on my brush, or you can even right click And Photoshop will bring up your brush options, and we can go ahead to choose a soft brush round, and we're going to come out of this, and I'm just going to go ahead to just brush to take out the color inside the rectangle. I'm going to click on Command D to deselect. We are going to drag in these two daisies, so I'm just going to drop them in, and they don't have any backgrounds. So I'm just going to move this and scale this down like that, set it somewhere here, and then click on the blue one and also move that, just rescale and move that close here. Now, yes, you can see that both of them are behind the rectangle. So to bring it up, you basically select both layers, and we're just going to drag it on top of our rectangle. So we have this effect. Now I'm going to move the blue layer, so that will be on top of the purple of the pink. So I have something like this. Now I'm going to make a copy. So click on your purple daisy, click on your pink daisy, Command J, make a copy, move that to this corner, and repeat the same thing with the blue, Command J, make a copy, and we're just going to move that somewhere here. We want to go ahead and also begin to type in the theme, which is Happy Mother's Day. So I'm going to pick up my type tool, and I'm going to change my foreground color to the hot pink, and I'm going to go ahead to type in, but I'm going to change my font, and I'm going to choose the Bacalista, and I'm going to go ahead and type in mother. And with my move tool, I'm going to go ahead, scale it, make it big, double click, and we're going to change the font to Amalfi Coast, and I'm going to go ahead and scale it down a little. So we have something like this. I'm going to set it right there. Now I want to move this layer up. So click on the layer in your layers panel and move that above all of your layers so that it's on top of your subject. And I'm going to just highlight just the M and change the font size. We're going to take the font size up so it's just a little bit bigger, and I am going to set that right there. Now the background is competing with our text, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead to reduce the opacity a bit of the watercolors. So I'm going to pick up on this and reduce the opacity so it's not too strong. So we still have it, but it's not too much. Now we want to go ahead and add a shadow effect to our text so it makes it pop. So click on the text layer for mothers, double click, it will bring up the layer style. Now we can add a drop shadow. Now this drop shadow is too blur, so we want to click in the drop shadow options, and we want to basically get rid of our size and the distance. We want to take it up a little, and we want the opacity to be darker so that the text stands out even more. I'm going to go ahead to click OK. Now this is looking good, so I'm going to scale it up a little since it's a Happy Mother's Day design, so it's big enough to fill this up. Now I'm going to go ahead to pick up my type tool again, and I'm going to type in happy. Now I'm going to use a different font, a different color, so I'm just going to pick something in the grayish. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to type somewhere here. I'm going to type in happy. I'm going to highlight and flip my foreground and background so it picks up on the color. Now I want to change my font, and I'm going to use the all-round Gothic. With my move tool, I'm going to go ahead to scale it, set that right here, double click, and we're going to change our font again. So I'm using the Myriad Pro, and this font is it's a basic font, so you can even use the pop-ins. It has the same effect, or even just around Gothic, you get the same effect. So I'm gonna set this right here, and I'm gonna make a copy, Command J, make a copy, and we are going to move this and set this right here, and we are going to go ahead and type in day, and then I'm going to highlight and see if there are options. I'm going to choose a bold, and I am going to go ahead to scale this a little bit bigger since it's a happy Mother's Day. And I'm just going to double click to accept. Now this is looking really good. Now we want to go ahead and add in some shapes to basically bump up the excitement of this design. So I'm going to go back to my shapes. I'm going to pick the eclipse, and I'm just going to go ahead to hold down Shift and draw a round circle just like that. Now in your property, we need to fill in the fill color. So click on your fill and choose the default or any color that you want. I'm going to go with a white. Now with our stroke, we don't want anything for our stroke. So you want to check the rectangle white box with a red line. So if I come out of this, you notice that I just have a solid color. Now you can reduce the opacity of this because we want to have a very playful effect with our circles. So I'm going to move this circle first of all, and I'm going to set it right here like that. And I'm going to make a copy, Command J, make a copy, and I'm going to set one here, and I'm going to scale it down. Now making this very quick is not that hard to do. So before we move on, I want to go ahead and add a bit of a drop shadow. So double click on your shape and then add a drop shadow. It's too dark, so we can click on it and we can change the opacity, but I'm gonna click OK. So I'm gonna make a copy of this, Command J, make a copy, move this one here. Now you can see the drop shadow on this one, and I'm going to double click inside, and we want to blur out so it's not too sharp. So we have something like this. This looks cool. I'm gonna click OK, and we're gonna set this somewhere here. I'm gonna make this big like that. I'm gonna set it right there. This looks nice. I'm gonna click on this, go back into my property, and I'm going to increase my spread so I can still see the shadow on this one as well. Now we can continue to make more. So I'm just going to fast forward and show you a few things. Now something like this, you can make it playful, make this one all solid, so you have some transparent and some solids as well. So I'm going to continue to make a copy, Command J, make a copy. I'm going to set this one here. Now I'm going to go back into my property and my fill color. I want to go ahead and change the color to a honey mustard, or you can even click on it. If you want it a little bit brighter, click on the color option and increase that so we have a bit more of a color splash. Now to just mix it all up, I'm going to duplicate this shape, Command J, make a duplicate, and I'm just going to add a few more of this yellow here and there. And I have this one here like that, and then Command J, make another copy. I'm gonna move this and set this somewhere here like that, and then I'm gonna make a copy of this, Command J, I'm gonna set this here. Click on your top layer and press Shift Option Command E on your keyboard. It creates one file. Now you want to go up to Filter and choose Camera Raw Filter. And basically you want to play with your different effects. So maybe the temperature you take back and you increase your contrast like that. And then you come under your vibrance and saturation, and we can begin to take that up to add some richness to our final touch. So we have something like this. Now you can go ahead and even take the temperature back a little bit more if you want. And then I'm gonna go ahead to click OK. So if I zoom out a little, you can see this is the before. It's more of a muted version, and this is the after. It adds a little bit of a punch. Now, if this is too much, you can still reduce the opacity. So this works very well. So I hope you enjoyed making this Happy Mother's Day flyer. Please give this video a thumbs up, leave a like, a comment. Bye, y'all.